There's nothing worse than looking back on your life and feeling like you've lost time. Maybe it was a bad decision, a toxic relationship, a season of struggle that drained you. You think about the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the years you wasted feeling stuck, and you wonder if it's too late to turn things around. But here's what you need to know. Nothing is wasted in the hands of God. Every setback, every failure, every tear you've shed, it's all part of a bigger story. And the best part? Restoration is coming. What you thought was lost forever, what you assumed was beyond repair, is about to be rebuilt, renewed, and multiplied in ways you can't even imagine. So if you're feeling behind, if you're carrying regret, if you're convinced that your best days are gone, think again. Because what's ahead is greater than what's behind. Let's talk about why. Every single experience in your life, whether good or bad, has shaped you into the person you are today. Moments of joy and success are easy to appreciate, but what about the seasons of struggle, failure, and regret? Those are the ones we tend to label as wasted time. We look back at relationships that drained us, jobs that led nowhere, decisions that backfired, and we convince ourselves that those years were pointless. But the truth is, nothing is ever truly wasted when it's placed in God's hands. Think about nature for a second. When a tree sheds its leaves in the fall, those leaves eventually decompose and enrich the soil. The tree might look barren for a while, but underneath, something powerful is happening. The nutrients from what fell away are feeding the roots, making the tree stronger for the next season of growth. Your life works the same way. The time you think you lost wasn't lost at all. It was enriching the soil of your future. There are lessons buried in those so-called wasted years. You learned things you wouldn't have learned otherwise. You developed resilience, gained wisdom, and discovered what doesn't work, so you can now walk with more clarity. Even the worst seasons of your life prepared you for what's ahead. Maybe you went through financial loss and now you handle money with wisdom. Maybe you stayed too long in a toxic relationship and now you recognize red flags early. Maybe you spent years doubting yourself and now you've learned to trust your instincts. Every setback came with a lesson. And if you choose to see it that way, you'll realize that nothing was actually wasted. God specializes in using what looks broken, insignificant, or discarded. In the Bible, there are countless stories of people who thought their time was up, only for God to step in and turn things around. Joseph spent years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, but those years weren't wasted. They were setting him up for a position of power. Moses wandered in the desert for 40 years, but that time prepared him to lead an entire nation. The same is true for you. What felt like a delay was actually preparation. What seemed like a loss was really an investment in your growth. Another reason nothing is truly wasted is that your story has the power to impact others. The struggles you face, the pain you've endured, it's not just for you. There's someone out there who needs to hear what you've been through and how you made it through. Your past can serve as someone else's roadmap. The very things you thought were your biggest mistakes might be the testimony that gives someone else hope. When you shift your perspective and embrace your journey, you start to see that even your struggles had a purpose beyond just you. Regret is one of the biggest traps that can hold you back. When you believe that years of your life were wasted, it creates a mindset of defeat. You feel like you're too far behind, like you'll never catch up. But that's a lie. The time you spend in the wrong place with the wrong people or in the wrong mindset doesn't disqualify you from what God has for you. In fact, He can take all those experiences and use them to propel you forward faster than you ever imagined. What took you years to break through on your own can be restored in a moment when you surrender it to Him. It's easy to get caught up in thinking about what could have been, but what if you started focusing on what still can be? You are not behind. You are not too late. The best years of your life are not in the past. They are ahead of you. And every experience, every struggle, every moment you thought was lost is actually working together for something greater. So today, make a choice. Instead of looking back with regret, look forward with expectation. Trust that nothing was wasted, nothing was pointless, and nothing is beyond restoration. Your past has been shaping you. Your experiences have been strengthening you, and the best part of your story is still being written. The past has a way of trying to define us. It lingers in our thoughts, shaping how we see ourselves and what we believe is possible for our future. Every mistake, every failure, every wrong turn can feel like a permanent stain, something that limits who we are and what we can become. But the truth is, your past does not define you. It may have shaped you, but it does not have the final say over your life. You are not the sum of your past choices, regrets, or circumstances. You are so much more. One of the biggest traps people fall into is allowing their past to create an identity they feel stuck in. If you've experienced failure, it's easy to start believing that you are a failure. If you've been hurt in relationships, you might believe that love isn't meant for you. Or if you've made bad choices, you might think you're beyond redemption. But those are just experiences. They do not determine your worth, your potential, or your future. No matter how long you've lived under the weight of your past, today can be the day you choose to break free. Think about this. If you were driving a car and only looking in the rearview mirror, how far would you get? You'd either crash or never move forward. Life works the same way. When you spend too much time focusing on what's behind you, you miss the opportunities right in front of you. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. It's there to teach you, to remind you how far you've come, but it is not meant to keep you stuck. One of the most powerful things you can do is reframe your past. Instead of seeing it as a list of failures, see it as a training ground. Every mistake taught you something. Every hardship built your strength. Every setback was an opportunity to grow. The key is not to deny your past, but to refuse to let it define your future. You have the power to rewrite the story from this moment forward. God is not limited by your past. He doesn't look at your mistakes and say, well, that's it, there's no hope for you. Instead, he sees who you are becoming. He sees the purpose he placed inside you before you ever made a single mistake. Think about the people in history who overcame their past to create an incredible future. Some of the most successful, influential, and inspiring people have stories of deep struggle, failure, and brokenness. But they didn't stay there. They used their past as fuel to push forward. You might feel like your past disqualifies you from a better future, but that's not true. Some of the greatest turnarounds in life happen when people decide that they are no longer going to let their past control them. The moment you shift your mindset and realize that your history doesn't define your destiny, everything changes. You start making different choices. You start believing in possibilities again. You start seeing yourself the way God sees you, capable, worthy, and full of potential. The past has no power unless you give it power. It's not the mistakes that hold you back. It's the belief that those mistakes mean you can't move forward. It's not the pain that keeps you stuck. It's the belief that healing isn't possible. The moment you decide that your past is just one chapter in a much bigger story, you take control of your narrative. Your best days are not behind you. No matter what's happened, no matter how many years you think you've lost, you have the power to step into a new future. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. The choices you make today determine where you go next, not the choices you made yesterday. So let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you stop looking back with regret and start looking forward with hope. You are not your past. You are stronger, wiser, and more capable than you've ever been. And the best part, your story is still being written, and the next chapter is going to be incredible. Restoration is coming. No matter how much you've lost, no matter how much time has slipped away, no matter how broken things may seem, God is in the business of restoring what was taken, what was wasted, and what was damaged. When life knocks you down, when circumstances leave you feeling empty, it's easy to believe that things will never be the same again, that the opportunities are gone, the years have been wasted, and that there's no way to regain what you lost. But that's not how God works. He doesn't just repair, he restores. And when he restores, he makes things even better than they were before. Restoration isn't just about replacing what was lost, it's about multiplying it. It's about giving back more than you ever had in ways you never expected. In the Bible, we see this again and again. Job lost everything, his family, his health, his wealth. He was in complete devastation. But when restoration came, God gave him back twice what he had lost. The years of pain were not the end of his story. They were only a chapter leading up to something greater. The same is true for you. Whatever you feel you've lost, time, relationships, opportunities, peace, God is more than capable of bringing it back in ways you never imagined. One of the hardest parts of waiting for restoration is the uncertainty. You don't see how things could possibly turn around. You don't see a clear path from where you are to where you want to be. But restoration doesn't come from your own efforts alone. It comes from trusting that God is working behind the scenes. What looks impossible to you is nothing for him. He specializes in making a way where there is no way. He takes what is broken and turns it into something beautiful. Think about the areas in your life where you feel like you've lost something. Maybe it's wasted time, years spent in the wrong place with the wrong people, doing things you now regret. Maybe it's a dream you let go of because life got in the way. Maybe it's a sense of purpose that you feel like you've lost along the journey. No matter what it is, restoration means that those things don't have to be gone forever. They can be revived. They can be renewed. They can come back even stronger than before. There's a verse that says, God will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. That means even time, something we often think is gone forever, can be redeemed. He can accelerate your progress, open doors you never expected, and put you in positions you never imagined. He can make up for what you thought was lost in ways that leave you in awe. When restoration comes, it doesn't just bring back what was taken, it leaves you better than you were before. The key to receiving restoration is believing that it's possible. If you're constantly looking at your past and assuming that nothing can change, you close yourself off from the blessings that are waiting for you. But when you shift your mindset and start expecting restoration, everything changes. You start moving forward with confidence. You start preparing for what's coming. You start walking in faith instead of fear. Restoration is not just about what happens to you, it's also about what happens in you. Sometimes the biggest restoration isn't in your circumstances, but in your heart. Or maybe you've lost your peace. Maybe you've lost your confidence. Maybe you've lost your joy. Restoration means that those things can come back too. You don't have to live with a broken spirit. You don't have to stay stuck in disappointment. The same way God restores circumstances, He restores souls. He renews your mind. He fills you with new strength. Your best days are ahead of you. No matter what has happened, no matter how much time has passed, you have not seen the full story yet. The pain, the loss, the setbacks, they are not the end. They are setting the stage for a comeback that will be greater than anything you could have planned for yourself. Restoration is coming, and when it does, it will remind you that nothing was ever truly lost. It was only waiting to be made new. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. Delayed doesn't mean denied. It's easy to feel frustrated when you're waiting for something, waiting for a breakthrough, for a dream to come to life, for the pain to finally make sense. When time keeps passing and nothing seems to change, you start to wonder if it's ever going to happen. You might even start to doubt yourself, doubt your purpose, or worst of all, doubt God's plan for your life. But just because it hasn't happened in your timing doesn't mean it's not on its way. Timing is everything. And the truth is, sometimes delays are not obstacles, they are preparations. You may feel like you're stuck, but what if you're actually being positioned? What if the waiting period is not a punishment, but a process? So often we think we're ready for something long before we actually are. We want the opportunity, the success, the relationship, the breakthrough. But there are things we need to learn first, things we need to grow into before we can fully receive what we're asking for. If you rush the process, you risk stepping into something before you're fully equipped for it. A delay is often protection, a way of ensuring that when you step into your blessing, you're able to handle it. Think about a seed planted in the ground. It doesn't immediately sprout. It takes time, water, sunlight, and the right conditions. But just because you don't see growth on the surface doesn't mean nothing is happening. Beneath the soil, roots are forming, creating a strong foundation so that when the plant finally emerges, it can stand tall and withstand the elements. The same thing happens in life. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. There is work being done beneath the surface, work that is necessary for what's coming next. One of the biggest mistakes people make during a delay is giving up too soon. They assume that because it hasn't happened yet, it never will, and they stop believing, stop preparing, and sometimes even stop trying. But what if they were just one step away? What if the breakthrough was right around the corner? You never know how close you actually are. That's why persistence is so important. That's why faith is so important. Because the people who receive restoration, the people who see their dreams fulfilled, the people who make it to the other side are the ones who refuse to give up. Waiting is not wasted time. In fact, some of the most important growth happens in the waiting season. That's where patience is developed. That's where resilience is built. That's where you learn to trust in something greater than yourself. If everything happened the moment you wanted it to, you wouldn't learn endurance, you wouldn't develop character, and you wouldn't have the deep appreciation that comes with seeing something finally come to life after years of believing. Delays teach you how to keep going even when there's no evidence that things are changing. They test your faith, stretch your endurance, and prepare you to receive what's meant for you. Or sometimes what looks like a delay is actually a redirection. Maybe the thing you wanted wasn't actually what was best for you. Maybe there was something better that you couldn't see yet. We've all had moments where we wanted something so badly, only to look back years later and realize that if we had gotten it, it would have been a disaster. The job we didn't get, the relationship that didn't work out, the opportunity that slipped away. At the time, it felt like rejection, but in reality, it was redirection. It was God leading us towards something greater. The key is to not let delays discourage you. Instead, let them build your confidence. Let them be a sign that something worth waiting for is coming. Because when it finally arrives, when the opportunity opens up, when the dream comes to life, when the breakthrough happens, it will be at exactly the right time, in exactly the right way, and you will be exactly the right person to step into it. What is meant for you will not pass you by. The delay is not a denial. It's just setting you up for something bigger than you ever imagined. What's ahead is greater than what's behind. That's something you need to hold on to. No matter what you've been through, no matter how many years you think you've wasted, and no matter how much you feel like you've lost, the temptation to dwell on the past is strong. You replay mistakes in your mind, wonder what could have been, and sometimes feel stuck in a cycle of regret. But here's the truth. Your best days are not behind you. They are ahead of you. And the sooner you believe that, the sooner you'll start living like it. It's easy to get caught up in nostalgia, especially when life hasn't turned out the way you expected. You might look back at a time when things felt better, easier, or more promising. Or maybe you regret the years you spent lost, distracted, or afraid to take action. But no amount of looking back can change the past. What you can change is how you move forward. If you spend all your time focusing on what you lost, you'll miss what's right in front of you. But if you shift your focus and start expecting something greater, you'll position yourself to receive it. The way you think about the future directly affects what happens next. If you believe that your best opportunities have already passed, you'll stop looking for new ones. If you believe that nothing good is coming, you won't recognize it when it does. But if you expect greater things ahead, you'll start seeing doors open, opportunities appear, and new possibilities come to life. The future responds to your mindset. When you believe in something better, you start acting in ways that make it possible. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that because things haven't worked out before, they never will. But that's a lie. Just because something didn't happen in the past doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. Growth is still possible. Change is still possible. Restoration is still possible. The key is to stop letting past disappointments determine what you believe about tomorrow. What happened before is not a blueprint for what will happen next. Every single day is a new chance to step into something better. God's plan for your life is never behind you. It's always ahead of you. Think about people in the Bible who thought their best days were over. Moses was 80 years old when he was called to lead a nation. Sarah laughed at the idea of having a child in old age, but she did. Even Jesus' followers thought his death was the end of everything. But the resurrection proved that what looked like a loss was actually the beginning of something greater. That's how God works. He doesn't take you backward. He moves you forward. He doesn't let your past define you. He writes a new future. So much of what you desire is still waiting for you, but you have to believe it before you can receive it. If you spend your time focused on the past, you'll stay stuck in it. But if you set your sights on the future, you'll begin to walk toward it. That doesn't mean there won't be challenges. That doesn't mean the journey will always be easy. But if you truly believe that what's ahead is greater, you'll find the strength to keep moving forward no matter what comes your way. Every setback you've experienced, every loss you've endured, every disappointment you've faced, it was all preparing you for something greater. Nothing was wasted, nothing was pointless. Everything was shaping you, teaching you, and building the strength you need for what's next. The future isn't something to fear. It's something to get excited about. Because what's coming is better than what's been. It's time to stop looking back. It's time to stop believing that your best moments are over. It's time to start expecting more, preparing for more, and stepping boldly into what's next. The past was just the foundation. The best part of your story is still ahead, and it's going to be greater than anything you've seen before. There is power in expectation. What you believe about your future shapes your actions, your mindset, and even the opportunities that come your way. When you expect restoration, you open yourself up to receive it. But if you go through life assuming that nothing will change, that things will always be the way they are, you end up blocking the very blessings that are meant for you. Expectation is not just wishful thinking, it's an active faith that prepares the way for something greater. When you expect restoration, you start living like it's already on the way. Too many people walk through life defeated before they even try. They look at their past failures, disappointments, and struggles, and they assume that's all there will ever be. Or they stop hoping, stop dreaming, and stop believing in the possibility of change. But the truth is, what you expect, you attract. If you expect failure, you'll find reasons to fail. If you expect things to stay the same, you won't even notice the opportunities to change. But if you expect restoration, you start seeing signs of it everywhere. You start making choices that align with a better future. You start positioning yourself for growth, success, and new opportunities. Expectation is what separates those who receive restoration from those who stay stuck. Think about people who have made incredible comebacks in life. The common thread isn't that they had easy circumstances, it's that they refused to believe that their story was over. They didn't let past mistakes define them. They didn't let setbacks convince them to give up. They kept expecting more, even when they had no reason to. And that expectation drove them to take action, to keep moving forward, to prepare for something better, even when they couldn't see it yet. Expecting restoration means you stop speaking defeat over your life. You stop saying things like, nothing ever changes for me, or I guess this is just how things are. Instead, you start speaking life. You start declaring better days are ahead, opportunities are coming, what I lost is being restored. Words have power, and what you say influences what you believe. When you change your language, you change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you change your actions. But expectation isn't just about words, it's about action. You don't just sit back and hope for restoration, you start preparing for it. If you believe something good is coming, you make room for it. If you believe you're going to get an opportunity, you start sharpening your skills. If you believe your situation is going to turn around, you start making decisions that align with that belief. Expectation moves you forward. It shifts you from passively waiting to actively preparing. And when you prepare, you show that you truly believe restoration is not just possible, but inevitable. Think about it this way. If you were expecting guests at your house, you would clean up, set the table, and make sure everything was ready. You wouldn't wait until they arrived to start preparing. You would get ready in advance because you knew they were coming. The same principle applies to your life. When you expect restoration, you don't wait for things to change before you start acting differently. You start living as if the change is already on the way. You shift your mindset. You adjust your actions. You prepare your life for what's coming. Expectation also means letting go of doubt. It's easy to let fear and uncertainty creep in, to question whether things will actually change. But doubt is the enemy of restoration. It keeps you from fully stepping into what's meant for you. The more you dwell on what could go wrong, the more you block what could go right. Expectation requires faith. It requires trusting that even when you don't see it yet, things are working in your favor. It means believing that delays are not denials, that setbacks are just setups for comebacks, and that what's ahead is greater than what's behind. The truth is, restoration is already in motion. The moment you start expecting it, you start aligning yourself with it. You begin to recognize opportunities that you would have otherwise missed. You start attracting people, ideas, and experiences that push you closer to your breakthrough. Expectation shifts your entire perspective. And once your perspective changes, your reality follows. So make a decision today. Decide that you are going to expect restoration no matter what things look like right now. Decide that you are going to believe in the possibility of change no matter what your past says. Decide that you are going to speak life, prepare for what's coming, and step forward with confidence. Because when you expect restoration, you don't just wait for it, you create the conditions for it to happen. And when it comes, it will be greater than you ever imagined. Restoration is not just a possibility, it's a promise. No matter how much time you think you've lost, no matter how broken things may seem, your story is far from over. What's ahead is greater than what's behind, and the best part of your life has yet to unfold. The key is to shift your mindset, to stop dwelling on the past, and to start expecting something greater. Believe that God is working behind the scenes, turning setbacks into setups and losses into opportunities for growth. Speak life over your future, take action, and prepare for the restoration that is coming. Every challenge you've faced has only been a stepping stone to something bigger. Keep moving forward, keep expecting more, and trust that what's meant for you will come in ways greater than you ever imagined. The wasted years will be restored, and your best days are still ahead.